Chapter 1 T'Challa the Black Panther nearly missed it, he paused and listened. Below the howl of the mountain blizzard the Black Panther heard the deliberately slowed down rhythm of a human heart. It belonged to a sentry concealed in the snow, and most likely the sentry's scent was masked, hence T'Challa's enhanced olfactory could not find him. Somewhere beyond the sentry was the mountain city of the mystical hand ninjutsu clan that was hidden in the northern region of Japan. T'Challa's target was Matthew Daredevil Murdoch, the most distinguished member of both the Hand and its offshoot the Chaste. T'Challa continued his climb with his ceremonial uniform's invisibility mode on. He moved away from the path that went to the sentry and made his way above the person. Then with silent ferocity T'Challa reached the person and used a fraction of the touch of death finger tap on a pressure point. The sentry's body slackened as it fell into T'Challa's arms. A few minutes later he discovered the entrance to the interior of the mountain, and he was unprepared for what he saw when he entered. Crimson lights came from a pyramid complex that was beneath the ledge that he stood on, and there seemed to be no one in the complex. He let his body fall from the ledge and he made graceful mid-air barrel rolls that positioned him over the most suitable area in which to land. He did so. The vibranium in his ceremonial attire absorbed both the impact and the sound. Daredevil's scent, which was faint when T'Challa was on the ledge, suddenly grew stronger. The Black Panther also noticed that the marble flooring was susceptible to changes in pressure. His landing had probably tripped a silent alarm. Since T'Challa was not there to attack, he stood his ground and waited. The man without fear, aka Daredevil, somersaulted from the nearby steps down to the area where the invisible T'Challa stood. The man without fear carried billy clubs and he held them in a threatening manner. He was in a scarlet-red combat suit that had small hooked horns at the top of the half-face mask. T'Challa guessed that the blind man had already used his radar sense to detect the intruder and was deceptively awaiting to be attacked only to swiftly strike back. T'Challa decloaked and said, "You weren't in Hell's Kitchen and I was told that you went to your second home." "T'Challa?" asked Daredevil. T'Challa made the nano-machines in his glove recede into the arm of the suit. "Touch my hand for verification," said T'Challa. Daredevil had the greatest sense of touch in the world. It allowed him to memorize fingerprints, so he ran his hand over T'Challa's fingertips. Daredevil then clenched T'Challa's hand like a brother. "Nice of you to visit." "Are my guards okay?" asked Daredevil. "They are asleep," replied T'Challa. "Thanks. What can I do for you?" "Loki is out to capture you, Magneto, Malice and me. He thinks that he is being discriminated against for his destructive past, while people like you and I with equally dark pasts are given a reprieve," replied T'Challa. Daredevil laughed hard like a maniac and then said, "That idiot of a god to think himself a victim and to say that I got a passing grace." "I agree," said T'Challa. "The reason I came here this week was to atone for my sins. The newest member to the Hand is a young man that I made into a monster when, at an impressionable age, he saw me beat his criminal father to near death. It messed with his mind because before that he idolized and worshipped me. This and more are the crimes that I have committed, and I have to bury them in order to have no fear of repeating them. Does Loki know how much stress that puts me under?" T'Challa placed a reassuring hand on his friend's shoulder. "Loki is coming with a dark celestial, the Asgardian god of fear and the killer of the Inhumans," said T'Challa. "I am flattered that a space god wants to fight little old Matt Murdock, attorney at law." "Christ, T'Challa! A dark celestial! Loki has truly lost it," said Daredevil. The image of a 2,000 feet tall and armored cosmic being came into T'Challa's mind. "We can stop Loki and his team," said T'Challa. "How do we take down one of the Celestials?" "They are prone to infections from intergalactic parasites. I learned that from a previous encounter with the beings when I was on the Avengers strike team," replied T'Challa. "I trust that you have those parasites in Wakanda ready," said Daredevil. No. Malice will have to make them. Best of luck and thanks for the warning, said Daredevil. T'Challa looked at him keenly. I need your input to take on Loki's threat, said T'Challa. I cannot work with Malice because my law firm is representing the families that lost relatives in her attack. The International Criminal Court may have convicted and released her, but the United States does not recognize that body and she has to face the U.S. justice system, said Daredevil. Let me guess, Magneto is holding up proceedings, said T'Challa. He has called in favors in the back channels to protect Malice. I was surprised that he had such clout given his terrorist background, said Daredevil. I cannot work with him either. I gave Malice sanctuary when she left both prison and her country, so that means that technically you cannot be seen working with me too. We will have to operate discreetly then, said T'Challa. Or else Loki's crew will destroy this place and your newest member to the Hand Clan. There is that infamous demented streak of the Black Panther, said Daredevil. Are you in? Yes. But I am a ninja against cosmic forces. Malice will rectify that because I need you to defeat the Asgardian god of fear. He feeds off of it but loses his strength in the face of a truly fearless being like you. Then we will work on the inhuman killer who can adapt his body to overcome his victims. The Celestial will be light work. Which leaves Loki to be severely dealt with, said T'Challa. Chapter 2 T'Challa loathed Malice and it took great self-control to be in her presence and not attempt to take her life. Malice was an ancient mutant who came from what was now called Turkey. She was brown in complexion, with curly black hair, a ring in her nostril and a wedding ring on her finger. Through teleportation T'Challa and Daredevil were taken to Malice's private island. They met her on the beach in the middle of the night. She sat with her eyes fixated on the waves. I got Magneto's message, T'Challa. Malice sucked her teeth and then there was an odd silence. Ahem, went Daredevil. Malice's devil-may-care attitude continued. Let us get this over with. I don't mind if Loki captures you or brings back your husband's carcass as well. Malice was up in his face immediately. That is why Storm left you and went with another man, said Malice. And now that we have your attention it is time to plan strategy and tactics, said T'Challa. Like what? Asked Malice. T'Challa's Kimoyo alerted him to reports from the Earth's Space Defense Station about the disappearance of Magneto's asteroid. Magnus, said Malice. The alerts further said that a celestial energy frequency was detected over the planet Mercury. That is where they have taken him, said T'Challa. We will have to coordinate our skills on the go. He teleported the group to asteroid M and they appeared just as Loki was on the verge of attacking Magneto. Malice turned Magneto and Daredevil into gods, said T'Challa. What about you? Asked Malice. I brought my own, replied T'Challa. T'Challa teleported the team to a crater in the North Pole of Mercury and he checked their conditions. Daredevil's anatomy had altered to that of a red beast that had 8 eyes and a skeletal tail. Magneto was black and his face was devoid of eyes, a nose, and mouth. Malice altered her throat to survive in a non-oxygen environment and she adapted her skin to the frigidness of nighttime on Mercury. T'Challa activated his thrice-blessed armor and a wristband that allowed him to function freely in space. Why did you bring us here? Asked Malice. There is water in the crater and possibly microbes which you will mutate into parasites to infest the Celestial, replied T'Challa and then he broke down exactly what he wanted from her. I have to hear what Magneto thinks first, said Malice. Magneto likewise Daredevil are unresponsive at the moment as their brains adjust to the scope of existence that they have elevated to. Loki and his crew will be upon us shortly so you have to act now, said T'Challa. Didn't you have a god too? Right now I have to be very flexible and controlling the god will slow me down, replied T'Challa. You are gambling, if your plan hurts Magneto then I will kill you, said Malice. The ground shook as the Dark Celestial landed next to the crater. Malice, we need those parasites now, said T'Challa. Dust erupted from the crater and it threw T'Challa's team into the sky, but out of the dust came a horde of parasites the size of a man's head and they swarmed the Celestial, entering its armor. Odin's brother Kulborson aka the Asgardian god of fear was in his giant serpent form and he slithered over the fallen Celestial. T'Challa activated a hoverboard from his boots, he flew to Daredevil and shook him out of his daze. Just like we talked about, I need you to feed on him, said T'Challa as he pointed Daredevil to the serpent. The inhuman killer called Vox slammed into T'Challa and knocked him down to Mercury's surface. I will deal with you last, said T'Challa as he kicked Vox away. Chapter 3 Massive earthquakes made T'Challa realize that Magneto was pulling Mercury's liquid iron core to the surface. T'Challa looked up at the god and saw bright flashes around him as he slowly measured up his new power. T'Challa glanced at Vox and changed his mind about leaving him for last. The Black Panther teleported behind the Inhuman and decapitated him with an energy dagger. At that moment, geyser-like eruptions broke apart the earth as the hot liquid iron came out. T'Challa flung Vox's body parts into separate geysers. There was a shout from Loki when he fell into a crater because of the force that Magneto controlled. T'Challa teleported to the crater and impaled the god with an energy spear. Go home Loki and do not ever challenge us again, said T'Challa. Malice flew next to Magneto and T'Challa went to them. Magneto, you have to change back to a man, said T'Challa. He does not have to if this is what he wants, said Malice. The universe elders will not allow him to live in peace and he will not be able to help mutant kind either on the Earth or in the galaxy, said T'Challa. Change him back Malice and do the same with Daredevil. From the corner of his eye, T'Challa noticed that the serpent had faded and the Daredevil moved to and fro on the battered Earth. Chapter 4 The Hand Clan Base, Japan. I will never be a god again, said Daredevil and took another sip of a herbal tea. I am glad that Loki's nonsense is over, said T'Challa. By the way, you must have heard about the Wakanda Con game that was going on in Chicago, said Daredevil. People masquerading as Wakanda representatives and scamming businesses. Yes, I heard, said T'Challa. But out of that media coverage came a legitimate group of Wakanda enthusiasts who do good in the community. I know because the founding member of the good group is an intern in my firm's Chicago office. And guess what? Asked Daredevil. What? He was in your class when you were a school teacher in Harlem, replied Daredevil. I did not know that. He keeps his past quiet. I see. He has ambitions of starting his own law firm, said Daredevil. Good. But I am concerned for his safety due to his representation of a federal prisoner who was coaxed by the FBI to run illegal arms into Chicago. The FBI then arrested him. Our guy is stirring up people who want the case forgotten, said Daredevil. I will pay him a visit, it would be unforgivable if I did not do so, said T'Challa.